Listen carefully. The Monkey King gave one strict order. No mango must ever fall into the river. The monkeys were confused. It was only a fruit, but nobody questioned their king. Every morning, the monkeys checked every branch. No mango ever reached the river. The Monkey King watched silently. But one evening, as the sun disappeared, the monkeys finished their work and went to sleep. The jungle became quiet, but hidden beneath thick leaves, one ripe mango remained unnoticed. Slowly, the branch bent. The fruit trembled. Then, plop! The mango dropped and floated away into the darkness. The floating mango reached a human kingdom. The king found it, he tasted it, and his eyes widened. It was the sweetest fruit he had ever eaten. Immediately, he ordered his soldiers, "Find where this fruit came from." Days later, they discovered the giant mango tree, and beneath it, hundreds of monkeys. The soldiers prepared their bows. The monkeys panicked. Soldiers surrounded the giant tree from every side. Behind the monkeys roared the river. Ahead stood the soldiers. There was no escape. Everyone looked toward their king. The Monkey King stayed calm. He climbed to the highest branch. Then, with a vine tied around his waist, he leaped. The monkeys gasped. The river was too wide. But the Monkey King grabbed branches on both sides. His body became a living bridge. "Cross the bridge, fast!" he shouted. One by one, the monkeys crossed over him. The Monkey King held on. Every passing monkey made the strain worse, but he refused to let go. Finally, the last monkey reached the other side. The Monkey King lost his strength and fell. The Human King rushed forward. He looked at the injured Monkey King and asked, "Why would you risk your life for them?" The Monkey King smiled and said, "A king does not live for himself. A true leader protects others first." The Human King's eyes softened. He stood silent, then lowered his head and gave an order. "No one will harm these monkeys." The soldiers stepped back, and from that day, the Human King ruled his people differently, because one monkey had shown him what a true king should be. A true leader protects others before himself. Look at my eggs! The tiny bird proudly showed her nest to her friends. Inside rested 3 tiny eggs. The woodpecker looked inside and smiled. "Wow, soon you'll become a mother." The bird smiled and looked at her nest. "I can't wait to meet them." The jungle felt peaceful. Everything felt perfect. But suddenly, thump, 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 the ground began to shake. A huge elephant walked through the jungle. He was hot and tired. Without looking, he pushed against the tree. Crack! The branch broke. The nest fell. The eggs shattered. The elephant kept walking, unaware of what had happened. The tiny bird quickly flew down. She looked at the broken nest, then whispered, "My babies. Why didn't he look?" Her voice trembled. "He walked away, unaware of what happened." She stood there silently. The woodpecker landed beside her. The elephant is stronger than us, but strength is not everything. The bird looked at him. What can we do now? We won't do it alone. He flew away. Soon, he returned with 2 friends, a bee and a frog. The bird looked confused. Listen carefully. The bee nodded. The frog smiled. They had a plan. The next day, the elephant returned. The bee flew around his ears, buzzing loudly. Annoyed, the elephant closed his eyes. That was the moment the woodpecker rushed forward and pecked at his eyes. The elephant roared. Now blinded, he ran in fear. Then he heard something. Croak, croak, croak. The frog was calling from beside a deep, muddy pit. Thinking it was water, the thirsty elephant followed the sound. 1 step, 2 steps, then crash! The elephant fell into the pit. The jungle became quiet. The tiny bird stood with her friends. She still missed her eggs, but she had learned something. No one is too small when they stand together. Unity and intelligence can overcome even the greatest strength. Once this temple is finished, people will come from far away to pray here, said one carpenter as he cut a large log. Yes, replied another, wiping sweat from his forehead. This temple will stand for generations. Nearby, the supervisor inspected the work and nodded with satisfaction. You've all worked hard, he said. But remember, no matter how skilled you are, always stay careful. The carpenters paused to listen. The supervisor pointed toward a large half-split log. Even a small mistake can cause a serious accident. Don't worry, sir, said one carpenter. We know the dangers. Good, replied the supervisor. Then let's finish today's work safely. The carpenters returned to their tasks. The sound of hammers and axes echoed through the forest. High in a nearby tree, a young monkey named Baloo watched everything with great interest. His eyes followed every movement. He listened carefully as the men spoke. But instead of learning the lesson, his curiosity only grew stronger. Baloo watched from the tree and waited patiently. Soon, the supervisor called out, "All right, everyone, time for lunch." The workers put down their tools and headed toward the village. Within minutes, the construction site was empty. A grin spread across Baloo's face. Finally! He jumped from the tree and rushed into the worksite. He climbed over logs, swung from ropes, and poked at the strange tools. Then his eyes locked onto something familiar. The large, half-split log. And the strange wooden piece stuck inside it. Baloo slowly approached. What does that do? He wondered. The more he stared at it, the more curious he became. Baloo climbed onto the huge log and examined the wooden piece from every angle. It didn't look important. It was just a small piece of wood stuck in a giant log. Curious, Baloo grabbed it with both hands and pulled. The wooden piece moved slightly. Baloo's eyes widened. Oh, it moves! Excited, he pulled again. This time, it slid out a little farther. A faint creak came from the log, but Baloo paid no attention. He only wanted to see what would happen next. With a mischievous grin, he tightened his grip. Then he gave the wooden piece one final, powerful tug. Pop! The wooden piece flew out. Crack! The two halves of the log slammed shut. Ah! Baloo screamed. His tail had been trapped between the heavy logs. He pulled and struggled desperately, but he couldn't free himself. Only then did he realize his mistake. The wooden piece wasn't a toy. It was part of the worker's work. After a painful struggle, Baloo finally freed himself and ran back to his tree. From that day on, he never touched things he didn't understand. Never interfere in work you do not understand.
Oh no! This rain is getting worse and worse!
Cried a rabbit named Moti as he ran through the forest. Dark clouds covered the sky. Thunder roared overhead.
Where can I hide?
He thought, shivering with fear. Just then, he spotted a cozy hollow tree dwelling. Moti's eyes lit up.
Perfect! Maybe I can stay there until the storm passes.
He slowly peeked inside.
Hello? Is anyone home?
There was no answer. It was empty.
What a wonderful place,
said Moti happily. He stepped inside and curled up in a dry corner. The rain continued for many days. Days passed, but no one returned. Moti cleaned the dwelling and slowly began to believe it was his home. But one day, the true owner returned. It was a sparrow named Chinu. She had been away searching for food, but the heavy rains had kept her from returning. Now she was finally home. But when she looked inside, she gasped.
Here.
A rabbit was living in her dwelling. "Excuse me, what are you doing in my home?" she chirped angrily. Moti looked up in surprise. "Your home?" "Yes, I built this dwelling. I have lived here for years." The rabbit shook his head. "When I found it, it was empty. I thought nobody lived here." "That doesn't matter," said Chinu. "It still belongs to me. And I have been living here for weeks," replied Moti. Soon they began arguing. "It's my home!" "No, it's mine now!" Their voices grew louder and louder and louder, but nobody could decide who was right. Finally, Chinu said, "Let us find a wise judge." Moti agreed. "Yes, let someone else settle this matter." So the sparrow and the rabbit set off together. After searching all day, they finally found someone who seemed wise. Near a river, beneath a large old tree, sat an old cat. His eyes were closed. Prayer beads rested in his paws. He sat perfectly still, as if lost in prayer. The rabbit whispered, "He looks very wise." The sparrow nodded. "Perhaps he can help us." But she hesitated. "He is still a cat. He looks old and peaceful," said Moti. The sparrow approached first. "Wise sir, we need your help." The old cat slowly opened his eyes. "Peace be with you, my children," he said softly. "What troubles you?" Both of them told their story. The old cat listened quietly without interrupting. Then the sighing. "Alas, I am very old and my hearing is weak. Please come a little closer." The rabbit hopped forward. The sparrow flew nearer. "Good," said the cat. "Now tell me once more." They repeated their story. The cat stroked his whiskers. A very difficult matter." Then he lowered his head as if deep in thought. For a moment, everything was silent. Nothing moved, not even the leaves. Then he spoke again, just a little closer. Trusting the old judge, the rabbit and sparrow moved closer, closer, and closer. The old cat remained perfectly calm, waiting, watching. Suddenly, the cat's eyes snapped open. Before they could react, he pounced with lightning speed. In a single leap, both were trapped in his paws.
You tricked us!
Cried the sparrow. The cat laughed. His gentle smile had vanished. Fools, he sneered. While you were searching for justice, I was searching for lunch. The rabbit and sparrow stared in shock. At last, they understood their terrible mistake. They had trusted someone simply because he looks kind and spoke sweetly. But Iway, the wicked cat, had fooled them both. The hollow tree dwelling remained empty once again. Not everyone who looks kind is trustworthy. Not everyone who speaks sweetly is wise. Before accepting advice, learn the true character of the advisor. Beware of false friends and fake advisors. Judge others by their actions, not by their words or their appearance.